A busy news day in the Vegas Valley. A couple of big busy news days, and we're here to break it down for you on Nighttime at Noon, coming to you live from Studio 31 at City National Arena. Hello, friends. Great to have you with us. I'm Brian McCormack. Gary Lawless will join us throughout the program as well. We've got Katie and Andrew in the studio making sure everything works great, and Luis Martinez behind the glass on the Fox Sports Radio side. Big news for the Golden Knights over the last 2 days. Yesterday announced that Bruce Cassidy, relieved of his duties as head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights, and also announced that John Tortorella has been named the new head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights. Earlier today, Kelly McCrimmon met with the media. John Tortorella did as well. We're going to have sound from both, but for now, we're going to kick right into it. Here are Kelly McCrimmon's comments from this morning regarding the new coaching hire.
Good morning, everyone. Yesterday was a hard day for the organization. I've said before, as a manager, if you're going to do your job well, you have to make hard decisions on good people. On behalf of Bill Foley, George McPhee, and myself, I'd like to thank Bruce for his commitment and contribution to our organization over his 4 years here. He was the exact right coach at the exact right time for our team, and he helped us become Stanley Cup champions. I've enjoyed working with Bruce. We had a great relationship. I don't think we had an argument or a disagreement in 4 years. I wish him and Julie the best. He'll work again very soon and be very successful when that happens. So I wanted to say thank you, Bruce. Just in my opening statements, I'm going to sort of speak to why now and why John. And I guess with the first part of that, 25-26 has been a challenging season for our team. Like a lot of teams, like all teams, very compressed schedule. We had 8 Olympians, would have been 9 if William Karlsson had have been able to go. It puts a lot of demands on the players. Bruce as well was part of the staff. I think somewhere along the way we lost our spirit and we lost our energy as a team. We went into the Olympic break in first place. We'd been in first place for 96 days. Since then, we're 5-10-2. Since a 7-game winning streak in January, we're 8-15-4. We've gone from first to second to third to fighting for a playoff spot. We waited as long as we could on this. We see lots of positive signs in spurts in our game, but we just felt that we needed to bring a different person in to lead our team at this time. In John Tortorella, when we're at our best, we play hard, we play fast, we get on teams early. I think that lines up with John's philosophy as a coach. Defensively, we're very much aligned with how his teams play. We're 8 games remaining in the regular season. There's not time to come in and implement new systems across the board. There'll be tweaks, and I think the other thing that we're expecting is that within the system that we play, we have guys that do it a little bit better than we have been doing it. I think that John has great passion, great energy. He's a great communicator. He's very respected in the industry, experienced, comfortable in his own skin. I think he's going to give our team a spark. That's what I feel. Our team, if we didn't have the expectations and the belief in our team that we do, we probably would have let this thing ride out. We like our team a lot. And we think our team has a chance to win, and we needed to make this change to help that happen. We want to hit the ground running. It's game day, so John will have had the opportunity, as he has already, to address the team this morning. He'll take care of the morning skate, and then it'll be on with the preparation for the game tonight against Vancouver. So those are my opening comments. Open it up for questions.
You guys, we have mics on both sides. Just be patient with us as we get those around. We'll start with Danny here in the front.
Kelly, I'm not sure if you kind of elaborate on that, but can you give it kind of a timeline of when the decision was made? And along those lines, you mentioned that along the way that the spirit was lost. Did you get the sense that Bruce lost the room along the way? Or?
No, lost the room is something I've been seeing or reading, and no, I don't think that. I think that just the energy level, for me, wasn't there. It just wasn't there. I think that we're a better team than what we're playing. I mentioned we're in the results business, right? So I mentioned, how that's gone for us. But no, I didn't feel that that had happened at all.
And when did this come about quickly, or was it something that?
Well, you're always evaluating your team in terms of the exact timeline. I'm not going to get into that exactly, but I guess the length of time that you think about your team and what you think your team needs is probably a longer time frame. The time that you use to make the decision and take action is much shorter.
Were there players or anybody like the leadership group that was consulted over this? Did you speak to the players about this move?
No, I did not.
Alan?
I have since, but I did not prior.
Kelly, did you make this decision by yourself, or was it a collaborative effort with George? And did the decision have to be signed off by Bill?
Yes, George and I work collaboratively on all decisions in hockey operations, including this one, and certainly Bill is involved and needs to sign off on anything that we do.
Hey, Kelly, in the past, you've had to make two other tough coaching changes at the time that probably were pretty polarizing. And it seemed in the short term they worked out really well. Did that kind of inform or make you confident to make this move again?
Well, it's what I touched on earlier, that you need to make hard decisions, and the easiest thing in the world is to do nothing, right? And we wouldn't be having this press conference if that was the path that we chose. I think that when we've changed coaches along the way, I'm going to say each time it was likely viewed by this room as being unpopular or not the right time. And I think in each case, the decisions were good ones. We're living it every day. So I think that we have the information. I mean, we're working with it every day, and that's used in terms of how we make the decisions. And there's a lot of dialogue, to the question earlier. There's a lot of dialogue between George, myself. I mean, our pro scouting staff is always evaluating our team. When we have meetings, there's open discussions about, what we like, where we need to be better. So those are things that go into how we run our hockey ops.
What are Vince next?
Kelly, you make a move like this, obviously you're looking for a response right away. As you said, 8 games to go. When you met with the leadership group, what was their reaction? And I guess, what does that reaction look like tonight, aside from 2 points?
I think you're going to see, a positive bump in our play. That's what we expect. The leadership group would feel, and when I say I met with the leadership group, I also met with the entire team. I think the leadership group would feel similarly to me. I think they all had Bruce positively impact them as players. I think they had respect for the person, as I do, and yet recognized that we needed to change something. With that, it's on everybody to do a little bit more, right? It's not going to be just because a new head coach walked through the door. We have to respond, each guy, in a positive way.
Alex?
Kelly, you mentioned that there was a time, or throughout this time, the team had lost the spirit and the energy. For you, was there a specific moment that was kind of like the nail in the coffin?
No, I don't think so. I think you see it in glimpses, and it's going to happen in any year where there's a stretch where you feel that, and usually you work through it, or often you work through it, and we waited. We're in a situation where we needed to take action. That's how we felt.
Go back to Danny here in the front.
In terms of his contract, is it only through this year, or is it beyond this year? Is there a plan?
John's just in for the balance of the season in the playoffs.
And it'll probably be reevaluated depending on.
We'll sit down at that time. It's very similar to the situation with Rick Bowness in Columbus. It's the exact same scenario that they've used there.
Take a pause.
And he's John's an experienced coach, right? So he's comfortable with that. We're comfortable with that. We're going to get to work, and we'll talk when the season's over.
Go back to Vince, and then back to Alan.
In terms of John, just your relationship with him in years past, and I don't know if you can detail the communication between you two in the recent weeks.
An American Boston, Massachusetts hockey coach and a Western Canadian junior operator. Nope. Nope. No, just, obviously of all the people in the game, but no, I've met John in the past, but certainly, never had a deep relationship with him like I might have with other guys. Really, to maybe I didn't add it in my opening comments, but really direct, honest, keeps people accountable. Pretty easy to get to know John Tortorella. In terms of our own relationship, I think that'll be pretty seamless.
Kelly, do you feel that the players individually were just underperforming? And number two, was there a sense that they just were not responding to Cassidy's message? What was the dynamic there?
I think some of that. I think that we haven't performed as well as we're capable of. I think you're right, and I think that and I touched on just the results. They haven't been there. They haven't been there. We've trailed so often this year, and I think what you saw early on is when we fell behind, we'd play some terrific hockey to climb back in games and often win or get to overtime. You haven't seen that as much in the last 25, 30 games, right? And it's they're hard jobs. It's a hard job being an NHL player. It's a hard job being an NHL coach. There's it's demanding. It's demanding.
Let's take a last call here. There's any final questions for Kelly this morning? Brent.
You mentioned that you think that John Tortorella's system fits well with the players on this team. What specifically about his system works well with the players that you have on this roster?
I think players like to play up tempo and aggressive. I think under Butch, when we played our best, that's how we played. I think that our game is at a high level when we play that way. I think John really believes in that style of play, instills that. And then I think defensively, he's looking for players to be very committed, as Bruce did, and as our team plays. We block shots. We care about keeping the puck out of our net, and I think that some coaches play defensive zone much differently than we do. Some coaches play the neutral zone much differently than we do. I think that what we'll see is very much similar systems as we go along. Bearing in mind there's not a lot of practice time. As we go along, I think what you may not even see, but just even internally, I think there'll be tweaks, right? That's what you'll look for, and then our players will need to execute. That's how it works.
Take a final call. If there's any other questions for Kelly? Yep, go ahead, Terry.
So we know that Tortorella was part of the Olympic hockey team with Jack Eichel and Noah Hanifin, with Carter Hart in Philadelphia. Do you think that chemistry was part of a reason why you looked at him?
Well, it's yes, that's all true. It didn't enter into why we chose who we chose. John was a member of the U.S. gold medal team, so he certainly would have had a relationship with Jack and Noah there. Different role. He was an assistant coach on that staff, and of course here he's going to be the head coach. But I think the familiarity, William Karlsson was another guy that has played for John in the past. So Brandon Saad is a guy that played for John years ago as well. But guys will get to know John very quickly. I think that one of the things we feel comfortable with is those relationships are going to get up to speed in a hurry.
Steven.
Kelly, just a couple on the roster. Is there any change in status of William Karlsson and when he may be available? And then Carter Hart too, if he's
William is what I told you guys earlier. If we have a certain level of success in the playoffs, he'll be available to play. Carter's real close. He's going to do morning skate this morning, and he'll practice on Wednesday. And I think we're right there. And he'll we expect he'll play regular season games, I guess.
And that was Kelly McCrimmon this morning on the hiring of John Tortorella, Stanley Cup winner and two-time Jack Adams Award winner. Gary Lawless joining us in studio. We'll get his insights. There's a lot to unpack. We'll come back in just a moment. Before we go to break, remind you Golden Knights fans that we are celebrating UNLV night with the Vegas Golden Knights on Thursday, April 2nd, when the team battles the Calgary Flames at T-Mobile Arena. With puck drop set for 7 p.m., special ticket packages start at $90 each and include a limited edition VGK UNLV screen print jersey, part of our exclusive Season 9 jersey offer series. A portion of the ticket proceeds will benefit the UNLV IPSM programs, aiding the growth of professional sports in Las Vegas. Tickets must be purchased through this ticket package to qualify for the jerseys. Quantities and sizing are available on a first-come, first-served basis. Visit VegasGoldenKnights.com today and purchase this special ticket package, VegasGoldenKnights.com for UNLV night. We'll step out. More to come on Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Golden Knights fans, you spoke. We heard you. The new VGK Locals menu this season. It's available at all team home games. The menu features hot dogs, nachos, water, fountain soda, pretzels, and popcorn for just $5.50 each. Season ticket members also receive an additional 10% off on all concessions, including the VGK Locals menu. Go Knights go. Make sure you check out the Locals menu at your next stop at T-Mobile Arena, which for many of you will be tonight because the Golden Knights right in action against the Vancouver Canucks as the announcement of John Tortorella's hiring as head coach made this morning. We are joined by Gary Lawless. Lots to unpack after Kelly and John both spoke this morning. Off the top, Kelly and John both spoke to this. Bruce Cassidy relieved of his duties. He will still never pay for a drink in this town again. He achieved sensational things in Las Vegas. This does not change that. A decision that was made, as Kelly McCrimmon described, a revitalization that the team seemed to need.
Yeah, let's give Bruce his due first and foremost. Wonderful coach. Came here and took a team that had been close and got them over the hump. And we all celebrated a Stanley Cup victory here in Las Vegas, and Bruce was a big part of that. Personally, he couldn't have been better. The broadcasters treated us with respect, gave us his time, his wisdom, his humor. It was a lot of fun working with Bruce and achieving what the organization did. Kelly McCrimmon said this morning that this was a really hard decision, and the easiest thing would have been to have done nothing. Well, no. We've come to learn about Kelly McCrimmon that that's not the way he does his job. It's not the way he looks at the world. His goal is it's a results business. He refers to it. He says we're in the winning business, and the way to win in the National Hockey League is to always get better, to always evaluate and see what you could do better. If you look at this roster, it's an elite roster, and it's one that should be contending. And they've only won one game in their last 7. That went from a 4-point lead in the Pacific at the Olympic break to now being 6 out of first place and 3 out of second place and barely above LA for 4th, and in danger of falling into wild card 2. So I would imagine that Kelly had sleepless nights trying to figure out what to do and how to fix this team, and he did diagnose what was missing, and that was energy, emotion, and positivity. And he determined that the best way to change that was to change the voice behind the bench. John Tortorella is obviously a different voice. He's very passionate. I also think people are going to come to learn that he's compassionate as well. He connects with people, and I think he's going to have a positive impact on the team. What is a measure of success for him? Well, first of all, getting in the playoffs, because that's not guaranteed right now.
Yeah,
that has to happen, and then once they're in, we'll go from there. But if this team gets in and it starts to live up to its potential, it can be a dangerous team. And I said this Saturday night after Dan and I wrapped up the broadcast and we're on the postgame show. I said I still think this team can turn it around and really go on a run. And Kelly has made the decision that he's made. John is here. The players are going to get a bit of a bump. Mark Stone just was just speaking to the media downstairs and talked about how the emotion was missing, and that's got to be regained. If you look at the game on Saturday night, they fell behind 3-0, and they were flat. And then Nick Dowd scored that goal, the first shorthanded goal, and the emotion that he brought from himself and then passed to his teammates, it brought them alive for a stretch. Yeah. And boy, were they ever good. And then the emotion left them again. And that for why that's happening, I can't tell you that. I'm not on the bench or in the room, and anyone who pretends that isn't in those positions and pretends that they think they know, they're just pretending because they don't know. But Kelly has information. Kelly McCrimmon and George McPhee, they have information that no one else has, and that led them to this decision. And we're going to listen to Tortorella in a few minutes, but I was enthused walking out of his presser. He showed humility, confidence, positivity, sense of humor. I think people are going to really enjoy having John around. And let's see if he can get the hockey team to win games.
As you mentioned, the response on Saturday, there are flames to fan, and time is of the essence. And you brought up the phrase that hit my ear above all others in Kelly's availability, which is to say it's easy to do nothing. And there can be paralysis by analysis. The management group decides to do something. They bring in one of the most accomplished coaches in NHL history. And, I was talking with Darren Elliott about this a little bit. It is an interesting wrinkle. I wonder what you think. The resume of John Tortorella as a head coach in the National Hockey League goes back to 2000. So there's a lot of body of work of conventional coaching. But what he's entering here, this unique situation with 8 games to play and then playoffs on top of that, it feels more like taking a tournament job. And he was an assistant coach for the U.S. Olympic team, which is to say he went behind the bench, worked with Mike Sullivan, but he went behind the bench for a bunch of players from all over the country that some he knew well, some he knew of, and in a short span of time, you coalesce and you try to build something. This task, it's not a carbon copy, but it's not all that different from that kind of assignment.
It's a point well made, Brian. And one of the things that he said was, "I'm not here to change a lot about what we do strategically." And he talked about how well the team was coached under Bruce and how fortunate he is to be taking over a team that has a lot of the habits and the structure that Bruce instilled in them. And then he also talked about, he texted back and forth with Bruce on his flight from wherever he was back to over here to Las Vegas, and picked Bruce's brain a little bit and thanked Bruce. So that coaching fraternity, those guys have a good relationship, and Bruce will want John to do well and to succeed. So, and for the team and the organization to succeed, Bruce leaves a big piece of himself behind here with the Vegas Golden Knights. So I'm excited to see how the team plays tonight and to see what they can do over these last 8 regular season games.
And that is the next part of this equation now, that a decision that's been made by management. Now it's on the players to respond in the right way. They get a chance going against Vancouver tonight, Calgary at the end of the week. They do it at home, maybe some practice opportunity this week. So there's a chance to get acclimated to John Tortorella's voice in that room. I do wonder, though, again, we've seen it this year with the Columbus Blue Jackets, the bonus bump. It doesn't always happen, but Kelly alluded to that example in particular. Sometimes that change can revitalize things in a hurry.
Well, like John Tortorella, he talked about it. He's been in rebuild situations in other places of late, and this is the best team he's coached since the team that he led to the Stanley Cup in Tampa in 03-04. So he's been handed a thoroughbred, and it was interesting. He didn't want to give the players too much information. It was all going to be about mindset from his perspective, and also getting out of the way. Like you talk to NHL coaches that have won the Stanley Cup. At a certain point in time, you kind of hand everything over to the players, and they, if they're making the comment on the bench and coaching one another in terms of how they have to play and what the standard is and holding one another accountable, then it's like, the coach really, okay, power play 1, let's go. You know what I mean? It becomes a far less invasive situation. And I think Tortorella understands that, grasps that, and wants to achieve that. This is a fascinating opportunity for him. Can he open all the windows, get that spring air to come in, get the place smelling clean and fresh, and people feeling good about themselves, and get on a roll, and then step back and see what this roster can do.
That is one of those interesting things, and we are going to play the John Tortorella commentary. Matter of fact, let's get to that sooner than later to make sure we have time. An hour show is not long enough to get into everything that's going on today, but we'll get to John Tortorella's commentary. Let's go to break right now. When we come back, John Tortorella's morning skate interview for the Golden Knights media this morning. We'll be back in just a moment. Brian McCormack and Gary Lawless on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Hey, VGK fans, night up your vehicle with a Vegas Golden Knights license plate. Show your spirit for the Golden Knights no matter where you go, because the ultimate fan has the VGK license plate, and you can grab your new license plates today. Visit dmvnv.com/plates. That's dmvnv.com/plates, and show your VGK pride today. Well, a lot to unpack this morning with the introduction of John Tortorella as the new head coach of the Vegas Golden Knights. Appreciate Gary Lawless stepping in to give us his perspective. We also heard from the head coach, John Tortorella, this morning. As after morning skate, he stopped in, had meetings with his team this morning, got introduced, and there's a lot of work to do in a quick period of time. 8 games left this season, and of course the Golden Knights taking on the Vancouver Canucks tonight at 7 p.m. You can follow along with all of our discussions here on this program, both of course on Fox Sports Las Vegas, but also simulcast across the VGK digital channels. So without further ado, let's hear from the new head coach, John Tortorella. He spoke this morning.
Hey, John, welcome to Vegas.
Thank you.
Obviously not a lot of time here and really laid off the runway. Just what are you expecting to do with this group in the last 8 games, and what are you hoping to start with tonight?
Yeah, we're not going to make many changes. In fact, I was texting Butchie last night when I was flying in here and thanked him for having the team the way it is right now, with me getting an opportunity to coach now with him gone. And so just remember, the guy that left here is a pretty damn good coach. So I feel very fortunate coming into this situation, and I am not going to upset and fill the players with information. I have a few points of emphasis that we'll go over as a team. I already did this morning in our first meeting, just about mindset and odds and ends that I'll just keep with the team for now. But that's basically where it goes.
Steve?
Hi, John. Steve Karp with the Sporting Tribune. When you would watch Vegas on TV, what impressed you and what concerned you as you would watch them play?
Yeah, I really haven't watched them play that much this year. I know the room. That's one of the more impressive things for me in coming here. Start with management right on through the room. I know it's a strong room, laden with playoff-tested players. Let's face it, the organization is a really good organization. And I'm going to lean on, I've already leaned on my coaching staff. I leaned on some players already, just asking them some thoughts. As I said, I have some points. One of them I like to, in the games I've watched, I just like to see us play faster. Everybody wants to play fast, right? It's an easy word to say, but I think that comes into mindset also. So, yeah, we'll pick away at it, but I am not going to overthink this. I'm not going to overload them and paralyze them. We've got some quality people here. I want to come in here and try to help.
One of the challenges this team has had is they've fallen behind quite a bit. Starts have been a little bit slow. Is there anything can you diagnose what the problem is and what you could change to fix it?
Yeah, I haven't diagnosed it. It's a tough one to diagnose. We'll certainly bring it up. It's just basically a reminder. I tell you, the biggest part of hockey now, I don't think it's the X's and O's. I do think it's your mind. That's a readiness. I think they've been told a few times about their starts, I'm sure. I'm sure you guys have written about it a little bit. We'll remind them, but also respect them. They know where they're at here now in the standings, right? It's they know where we're at, and it's up for the coaching staff to just get them together and be ready to start these games and go from there.
Vince Sapienza with Fox 5 here in Las Vegas. I guess obviously this all happened quick. How quick was this in terms of your communication and getting here, and then your first interaction with the group as a whole? Any takeaways?
Yeah, I'm not going to go through the whole timeline of it. A guy lost his job, right? And Butchie, I know him well, family. We're going to move forward. I felt I needed to reach out to him last night. We had a good conversation, and that's where it stops for me. I wanted to thank him, and now my sight is set on this game here. Talk to the players about that also. It's a big change for them too, right? We just want to move forward here with kind of a really crazy situation with only 8 games left. So we need to start thinking ahead and just take this day here against Vancouver and move to the next one.
Hi, John. Gary Lawless from the Golden Knights. You have a lot of experience. This, I would imagine, is a new circumstance for you. And what, in your experience, gives you the confidence to think you can have a positive impact on this group?
Yeah, well, if I in this business here, whether you're a player or a coach, I think you need to have the ability to accept the challenge, right? And I got bombed out of Philly with 9 games left last year. Now I come here with 8 games left in a new job. It's a couple of crazy situations I've never been involved for, but that's the league. That's that's pro sports. And I think as coaches and players, when you get to this level, the highest level of the game, you need to be prepared to handle that stuff. And I'm very fortunate to get the opportunity. I don't know Kelly as well as George. Mr. Foley also, I talked to him on the phone. I'm very fortunate to get the opportunity to work with this managers group and players because the organization is so well respected. And I don't want to let them down. I'm going to prepare myself each and every day to be the best I can be, the best version of me to help the team. But I think the important thing is that we need to do it together, and looking forward to the challenge.
John, Dave Gosher with the Golden Knights. I'm curious about your last month. You win the gold behind the bench as a member of the
That was a
staff
blast.
with the U.S.
Yeah,
Sure, that was fun.
a blast.
But then you go back home. Was there still this burning desire? Hey, I'd like to, if the right situation arose, to be a coach again?
Yeah, I know some things are out there. I've never wanted to stop coaching. I love coaching in Philly. That caught me off guard a little bit when that happened, and love the players. I follow the team. Just because you lose your job, you still have relationships with the players. So, I've been in the league long enough. I don't have an agent. I'm not out there chatting it up and trying to find jobs. 2 grandkids, got involved with my family a little bit, that you very rarely get to do when you're in this business. And so I jumped on that opportunity. And if something happened, something happened. If something didn't, I've been blessed to be in this league as long as I have. And this came up, and I said, I'm in. And again, it's a terrific organization, and I just want to come in and keep my head down and just try to help the best way I can to try to find a way to get in and see where we go from there.
Hi, John. Welcome to Vegas.
Thank you.
You've worked with a handful of these players previously throughout your time of coaching. What are your conversations been like with them, and how has it already helped you acclimate to Las Vegas?
Yeah, well, what I hope it helps is their conversations with other players that don't know me, that are in this locker room here. Always great to see. I saw Carter, who played so good for me in Philly, and saw Bill Carlson, just some of the guys. It's always great to see them. So I've been swimming upstream here a little bit, trying to find our way. It's been very busy meeting everybody here today. Haven't had a chance to sit down with all of them. But I think when players, when a new coach comes in and some players have played for him before, I think the questions from other players to them are the important ones. So I think sometimes there's perception, then there's reality of the people. I hope they get the information, and I was very frank with them this morning how I was going to approach it in just this short window of playing games and who I am, and we'll see where it goes.
Darren Millard, Golden Knights. Tonight, the challenges more specifically, from tactically to knowing names and numbers and line changes on the bench. What's that going to play?
Tactically, we've already gone over just a couple of things, just so I could get that in their head and see. I'm not going to change what I said, but there was a couple things I wanted to, and I just wanted to see if they feel good doing that. So I did it this morning. and they'll come to me tonight and say, you know what, just not, maybe we need to practice it, or something like that. So I wanted to give them some information, but my biggest thing, I'm a little concerned about the names, and I've been in my office writing down the lines. I've written them down 4 times or so, just so I have a pretty good idea what the lines are. But the power play units, the penalty killing, I talked to Johnny on the penalty killing. I really have leaned on the coaching staff. They basically have put the lineup in tonight for tonight's game for me, based on how the team's been playing since in the past few games. So it'll come back quickly, I think. But I'll be doing a lot of some of the game I won't see because I'm trying to figure out who's on the bench and who's up next. But it always happens that way. But that'll get smoothed out quickly. The tactical part, it's a great question, because I do not want to change a lot. My change is, and like I said, points of emphasis is mindset. I just want to I want to see just a hardness. And when you talk about hardness, that's not body checking, that's not fighting. That's a general term where there's so many headings underneath that, and it comes through mindset. That's what I want to coach, because they've been a pretty successful team here for years. I know it's been a bit of a struggle this year, but we still have a lot of faith that we can find our way.
If I may, I probably should follow up on the Olympics. Last time we were behind the bench, it was pretty awesome, evidently.
Yeah.
What was your main takeaway from a huge moment to be part of that with USA Hockey?
With USA Hockey, that was, it was Canada too, right? So it was pretty good, and Canada kind of had its way with US and in the 4 nations. Great goaltending. We've got to speak about that. And Hellebuck played unbelievable. It's hard to describe because it's such a great tournament with some of the greatest players around, and then to win it in overtime, it ends so quickly. It's crazy. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it now, but great group of guys. The biggest take I take out of that, and this is what I love about our athletes in our game, is you have all those stars. I'll speak for our team. We have all those stars in our team that are used to playing the big minutes, right? Over the boards for the power play, over the boards for the penalty kill, regular shift, last minute. They had to accept roles, right? Because we can't divvy it out. You're going to lose some ice time. You're going to lose, and that you need to accept your role. I think Mike Sullivan did a great job in explaining the roles, and I watched that team accept their roles, and I think that's one of the most important parts of Olympic hockey, is becoming a team as quickly as you can, because you don't have a lot of time. I thought we did a really good job of that, and we found a way. We had some great goaltending to keep us in the game, and then we found a way at the end. So, and I thought the celebration was one of the greatest celebrations I've seen a hockey team have. To sit back and watch them act like fools and little kids, it was cool. It was really cool.
Coach Chris Matthews with CBS here in town. You've had a quarter of a century to build a pretty impressive resume and some really cool viral clips on social media and YouTube.
Yeah.
What's kind of your style? When you look at some of those fun clips, do you kind of chuckle inside a little bit?
Listen, I've made a lot of mistakes along the way. I answer questions. I'm going to answer them honestly. I'm not saying I'm the greatest guy in the world after games, because you're in the fight with the players, and you guys need us out here 10 minutes after the game, which is insane, because we're still amped up, and I'm going to try to answer your questions as honestly as I can. Sometimes emotion gets in the way. It's a good thing, it's a bad thing, right? We all make some mistakes doing it. I'm going to do the best I can for you guys, and I'll never lie to you. You might not get some information from me along the way where I think it's important to stay in the room, but I hope I treat you fairly and with respect, and I'm sure I'll make some mistakes along the way.
So I won't ask you to detail your lines. Obviously, hi, Tor, it's good to see you.
Good to see you, yeah.
Kelly McCrimmon mentioned he'd like to see an energy shift from the team based on what he's seen the last several weeks. How energized and excited are you about this opportunity? You seem a little giddy, right? But given where this team is and the personnel that you have, how just excited are you personally?
Yeah. I've been I've been rebuilding for a number of years along the way here in the last couple of stops, and to come into a team that just understands how to win, has won, has played in a bunch of playoff series. I've got to be careful, and this is something I've self-talked for the time that I've been given this great opportunity, is get out of the way too. You know, you just get out of the way, and you can learn from them also. And I need to take information from them, and that's what I tried to open up doors of communication in our first meeting today. I want them to be able to come to me and say what's on their mind, and that's exciting for me. And again, listen, I've been in the league a long time, won some, lost some, done some dumb things along the way. To get an opportunity in this point in my career to come here, are you kidding me? So I'm going to try to do the best I can, and I just want to help. That's what I told the boys today. We're going to do it together. A good man lost his job. That affects these guys. Don't think it doesn't. We've got good people in our game. They feel for Butchie too, and so we got to try to make it stand here. And so I'm anxious to be part of it with them.
And that's a lot covered by new head coach John Tortorella. He said a little bit more. We fit as much into this program as we can, but for the full comments of John Tortorella, Kelly McCrimmon, players in the locker room this morning, you can find all of that on the VGK digital channels and on the Golden Knights website. We'll break down a little bit more of it, but first we'll go to break, and when we come back, we'll put a bow on this episode of Nighttime at Noon. Brian McCormack here with you on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Hey, Golden Knights fans, if you want more VGK content and you want to stay up to date on what's going on throughout this season, head over to the Vegas Golden Knights YouTube channel right now and subscribe. You can watch all-access player videos, game highlights, and our newest behind-the-scenes activities. Subscribe to our channel today to stay caught up on all things VGK and revisit some of our greatest moments with the Vegas Golden Knights. Well, if there was ever a day to plug the YouTube channel, today's the day, because we've gone through a lot of commentary straight from the source after the dismissal of Bruce Cassidy yesterday and the announcement of the hiring of John Tortorella as head coach. We've heard from GM Kelly McCrimmon. We've heard from John Tortorella, who will be behind the bench for the Golden Knights tonight when they take on the Vancouver Canucks. You can head over to the Golden Knights YouTube channel as well as Golden Knights team website and listen to it all again, because there is a lot to absorb. We just heard from John Tortorella, and a couple of key notes that he touched on. First of all, Jamie Hirsch kind of set him up for this. Her words, the giddiness, which is to say, John Tortorella shows up with a lot of excitement. He also went into a little bit of his fiery reputation with his new media friends. But as Gary Lawless said when he was in the studio with us, passion and compassion is John Tortorella's trademark. And for a team that Kelly McCrimmon said, they lost their energy a little bit, lost some of their fire over the course of these recent weeks that required a change. John Tortorella teams are always known to bring fire, and as Tortorella put it, hardness. Hardness is the word he used, and he said that's a heading that has a lot of subheaders underneath it. Another way I think you can frame it is when you hear about teams that are hard to play against, and that isn't just crash and bang on the wall. That isn't just blocking shots. That's all part of it, but hard to play against. And teams that are in your face, teams that so often when we talk to players before games, and what do you need to do tonight? Well, we need to play our game. It's a little cliche, it's a little bit of a hockey answer, but it's also true. The point of which being is, what you don't want is another team to push you out of your game. And that's what John Tortorella teams have done for decades now, is make teams play on their heels, make teams play in their own end, turn around, chase pucks, and play under pressure. And as Tortorella said, he's not looking to change a whole lot. It's not the time for that, with only 8 games left in the regular season, one of which is for tonight. It's not about overloading players with information. It's about inspiring, motivating, and finding that mental aspect of the game, that mental edge, restoring that for a team that he already knows has a world of talent, because this is a good chunk of a roster that won a Stanley Cup a few seasons ago and is in playoff position. But certainly it is go time right now for the VGK, as their circumstances within the Pacific Division and the wild card picture have changed. So every game in the National Hockey League is a hard game to win. There are no off nights in the National Hockey League, but they do have a stretch this week on home ice against Vancouver, who has lost 5 in a row and is at the bottom of the league standings and looks in good shape to lock up some lottery odds in the next couple of weeks. And a Calgary Flames team that is also on the outside looking in, but playing better hockey of late. This is a week where the Golden Knights certainly need to seize opportunity and get things going in the right direction once again. And John Tortorella also said he's going to rely on his assistant coaches. The assistant coaches, that staff, the support staff, they have remained, and they will play a big role in getting the new head coach and the team to the new head coach, everyone acclimated, moving in the right direction, and doing so quickly, because tonight at T-Mobile Arena, it's the Golden Knights and the Vancouver Canucks, with puck drop scheduled for 7 p.m. Pre-game coverage here on Scripps Sports at 6:30 and on Fox Sports Las Vegas with Ryan Wallace starting at 6 p.m. Appreciate you all joining us for Nighttime at Noon. Thank you to Gary Lawless. Thank you to Katie. Thank you to Andrew. Thank you to Luis. We covered a lot. Recap it on the VGK website and social channels. I'm Brian McCormack. We'll see you next week. Nighttime at Noon.